Hey y'all, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I'm back with another live. Guys, I am so sorry if y'all hear some background noise. I just left bachata class and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna wait until I get home to start the live because I don't want to have to reschedule it again. I already rescheduled the live I was supposed to do on Sunday for today. But guys, I'm so busy. Like, I'm trying to do a million and one things and keep up with my YouTube channel. So like sometimes my scheduling be off and I have a planner for everything, but even then it's very difficult. But y'all go ahead and hit that like button when y'all come on in. Go ahead and comment in the chat. I'm sorry guys. I know y'all hear that plane. I'm about to be in my car soon. Yeah, guys. So today we're going to be talking about P. Diddy and Usher. And just in general, I'm really going to use this to segue into people leaving their children with grown men. This seems to be a common thing, like even in the music industry, especially in the music industry. You had B2K, all of those members. Their family just entrusted them to Chris Stokes. You had the whole Aaliyah and R. Kelly situation that went down where her parents just basically pimped her out and allowed her to be around R. Kelly completely unattended. You had that situation, and some of y'all gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna speak the truth. Y'all had that situation where all those kids' parents would let them go be in Neverland with Michael Jackson. Okay. And then going back to R. Kelly, even all those girls whose parents let them be around him after the Aaliyah allegations. So it seems like as long as you have a little bit of money and fame and you can prepare a child into stardom, a lot of parents have no problem pimping their children out. And they can't be that naive. All the stories that we've heard about just in regular families, children being touched by family members, especially by male family members, you cannot convince me that people are that naive as to the dangers that come with leaving children in the presence of men who are not their fathers. And if I'm keeping it a buck, I have met several girls who have been messed with by their own blood fathers. I know a girl who had a baby by her dad. So why any parent would leave their child in the presence of a man that they are not related to essentially raise them up and groom them, I have no clue. Well, I do. It's about the money. Again, y'all, please remember to comment. Oh, hey, Binky. Hey, Mr. D. I'm sorry. I couldn't see the comments. Hey, Cha Cha girl. I'm glad you finally caught you alive. Yes, Binky. It is clout chasing parents. Guys, I'm going to tell y'all a story real quick. And see, this live is not for the sensitive. Especially some of y'all are going to get upset if you're watching this. But I don't care because this is one of those things where the truth has got to be said. And I don't care. Like, this is one of those things where I can't tiptoe around it because women need to understand the truth. Men understand the truth. I don't know too many men who would leave their daughter around their best homeboy. I don't see men doing that. Men do not leave their daughters around their closest homie, their best friend. I promise you, they don't call their homeboy to babysit their daughters. Most men that got daughters tell their daughters don't go sit in no man lap. So men know the truth about other men. Point blank, period. The older I get, the less I believe that adults actually love children. The behavior and mindset tell me otherwise. Man, let me tell you, pimping children is a real thing. And maybe not even on no sexually thing. Do y'all know how many parents that I've seen, just being in education who they put their child's athletic career above their education? Like, they don't care if the kid is not learning. They don't care if the kid isn't coming to class. They don't care if the kid can read on grade level. The only thing they're concerned about is that kid being able to throw a ball so that that kid can make it to the NFL, so that they can take that parent out of poverty or having to struggle. And when I say this, I'm not talking about just it's male parents. A lot of the times it be the women, it be the female, it be the mothers. So everybody gonna get this smoke tonight, because in majority of these situations that I'm seeing, the mother is heavily involved in pimping their child out. I even see women letting their sons spend the night over coaches' houses, talking about he need a father figure. No, ma'am. You were supposed to get that right the first time around with the real daddy. Okay. That boy don't got no business spending the night over his coach's house that is not his father. Point blank, period. Clive Davis is the one who started all this mess. He groomed Diddy. I believe that. But if I remember, Mr. D, Clive was a grown, Diddy was a grown man at that time, right? But yeah, I can't wait till he get his. Somebody need to do a surviving Clive Davis, because I've heard of him. But yeah, so let's go back. Now, there have been rumors swirling around, right? The industry. I've been hearing about Diddy for the longest. Okay. Matter of fact, Tasha K was talking about it was when it wasn't popular. And I hate that Tasha K kind of gets the bad rap that she gets, especially over that Cardi B situation. Because to be honest, people can say what they want to say about Tasha K, but a lot of the news that we're just now hearing, Tasha has been breaking that news for a long time. Y'all put a one in the chat if you can hear me, if my sound is good. But Tasha has been talking about these subjects for a long time, and she don't get her due credit. There have been so many topics where I have seen Tasha expose people, and people talk bad about her, say she's being messy, and next thing you know, boom, it hits the news. So years ago, Tasha been talking about Diddy and how Diddy likes men and Diddy and his parties, and then it took Cassie coming out to confirm and validate all of this. Okay, now with that said, uh Usher, you can tell, I'm sorry, I feel like men who are too promiscuous and always got to have a bunch of women are trying to prove something to themselves, and they're trying to prove something to other men. And on top of that, you have this situation with Usher, where he's always dating older women as if he's looking for some type of mother figure. And to me, that goes back to childhood trauma of wanting some type of emotional protection, right? So when I think about Usher and all the women that he's ran through, to the point where he done got herpes, and that's not to shade or shame anybody that's gotten herpes. What from what I do know, teaching sex education is actually very common. Like 1 in 6 people have it. But I mean, he been around the block. Okay. So to me, that kind of behavior always raises my eyebrows. Cause what are you trying to prove, especially at your big age? Why you keep dealing with all these women? Clive gave Diddy Bad Boy after he gave Diddy the business. Where you think Diddy's quote came from? Take that. I didn't know that, Mr. D. I did not know that. I believe that Future and Neo give me that trying to prove something with women vibe. Oh, baby, especially Neo. Especially Neo. All them pictures from back in the day. I ain't forgot them pictures that he had with that dang lip piercing and that muscle tee over his head showing his body. Like, yeah, he definitely trying to prove something. Future too. Y'all would be surprised at the amount of boy like young men who, and nowadays, like, nothing is secret. Okay, everything is on the internet. This is the age of exposing. Y'all would be surprised at the amount of boys who are walking around here sagging their pants and, smoking, and I guess they call themselves some type of gangster or whatever, and they be DL. Like, it's a thing. It's a thing. Now, to me, I associate homosexuality with the thug look. That's how bad it is. And I'm not saying this just based off of my speculation. I'm saying this based on what I've seen as confirmed information. I automatically associate that look with DL activity. Okay. The entire music industry is corrupted with all this sickness. Yes, it is. And again, I'm going to put that blame on the men, okay, and the women, because there's some sick women that be turning people out too. Y'all remember, please tell me in the chat if y'all remember this woman's name, but she is friends with Chris Stokes. And that rumor has been going around that she was messing with Janae and her sisters. She looks like a lesbian. Oh, y'all tell me that woman name if y'all remember it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Okay. Even Heather Hunter, with her recruiting a lot of these men that are new to the industry and turning them out and then putting them onto other men in the industry. Like y'all remember that dude that did that interview with Tasha K, and Hunter turned him out, and then he was messing with Wyclef. It was a whole mess. But my whole thing is a lot of this could be prevented because these young artists are meeting these kids when they are underage, and their parents are forcing them into the industry for $1. Instead of their parents saying, I'm going to go work hard and I'm going to make a way out of this for my kids, they are offering their children up to the slaughter. I can't tell you, I have a daughter who is very articulate. She has a lot of personality, very beautiful, right? She's a kid though. She's 7 years old. I can't tell y'all how many women that I meet who are like, you need to put her in modeling. You need to go ahead and get her in an acting agency. Oh, you can make some money off of her. Verbatim. This is what other women have told me about my daughter. And even with all this stuff in the industry being exposed, they still come say stuff like that. Oh, yes, I can't think of her name, though. I know who you're talking about. Okay, good. So at least y'all kind of have a sense of who I'm talking about. OMG, now I'm thinking about Bishop Eddie Long. Baby, cha-cha. Girl, we could talk about these pastors all night long because they be the main ones. And guess what? People be so brainwashed because they're so deep into worship of a person. It don't even really be about their religion and their own spiritual walk. You have some people who won't even go to a church on Sunday, on a mega church, if the main pastor, the senior pastor, is not preaching. They will not show up, which is crazy to me. For those of y'all who don't know, I'm a Buddhist. I go to Buddhist temple on Sunday. Um, they don't really have a pastor. Like, you have monks, they'll do a dharma talk, but nobody cares if which monk is gonna do the dharma talk that day. Nobody cares. Like, we don't even know their names. Like, you're literally there for your walk and to do your meditation and your spiritual journey. And that's not to say Buddhism is better than Christianity. I'm just saying the way people do the religion in Christianity a lot of the time is crazy. Christianity is supposed to be about your own personal walk. But people put so much stock into one man, a pastor, that they're willing to offer their children up to these men. Chris Stokes' ex-wife just came out recently confirming the rumors, and I don't be trying to hear what these women say. Now, I've been believed that Chris Stokes was a predator. I believe Raz B when he first came out and people were making fun of him. I've been believed him from the jump. What I can't stand is these ex-wives, even R. Kelly's ex-wives, who want to come out and expose everything after they done got all the money, or after these men have went broke, or after they done got tired of the relationship. Girl, you knew that man was messing with little boys while you was with him. So thank you for finally speaking the truth. But I look at those people like they're just as culpable. Like, you're an accomplice, you're an enabler, especially when there's children involved. And I would never, men in the chat, Mr. D, be honest. Under any circumstances, would you ever leave your child with your homeboy? The homeboy that you trust the most, would you ever leave, especially your daughter, with your homeboy? Yep. Why let it happen all those years? Yeah, exactly. Let me tell y'all something. One time I was with a group of kids, right? And we were watching this movie. Now, they were older kids. They were like 17, 18-year-old kids. We were watching a movie called Fury. And if you haven't seen it, it's basically, the setting is World War II. And it basically kind of shows the horrors that men who went to war really experienced. And there was one scene in there where like Brad Pitt character walked in with a young boy who had just entered the war. They walked in this house of a woman, and he was like, "Who else is here?" And the woman was like, "Nobody." Well, it turned out she was hiding her cousin who was really young. She looked to be about 17 or 18 and was really beautiful. So, you know, the teenagers, they asked me like, why was she hiding her? And I said, well, it's very common during wartime for the soldiers to go into towns that they have conquered and uh grape the women. So, of course, we continued watching it. They didn't end up doing that to her, though there was talks around it. Okay, there was talks around it, but that never actually occurred. But once I explained that to them, why the girl was hiding, do you know, several, at least 5 boys in the room said, "Well, what you expect them to do?" I said, "Excuse me." They said, "Well, what you expect them to do? They gone away from women. What they supposed to do?" And a couple of other ones was like, "Shoot, I do the same thing." And when I tell you, not one boy or male in that room was like, "Nah, y'all tripping." It was like they empathize with that. Like, "Oh, we've been at, men away at war for years. Like, yeah, y'all, duh, they gonna rape women. What do you expect them to do?" So by that time, I had already kind of come to some realizations and conclusions. So I wasn't really surprised at what they were saying. It was other people in the room who got surprised, and um they were like, "Well, y'all have to understand, we think differently than y'all." And I was like, "No, you don't gotta explain. I understand clearly." Um, but what I'm trying to say is, a lot of men just on a day to day have a hard time controlling their sexual urges. Then you couple that with, some of them might be dealing with sexuality issues that they can't necessarily be open about, such as somebody like P. Diddy. And then you put a child with them who has no autonomy, right? And you leave that temptation around them 24/7, some type of slip up is bound to happen, and then it just becomes intentional. Or a lot of these men, they know what they're going to do to begin with, so they intentionally prey on these kids who don't have fathers around, or who have weak fathers around. um and again, I'm gonna blame both the mothers that allow that and the parents, because sometimes these kids do have their dads around, but most of the time they don't. And I'm gonna blame the men. And I feel like people need to be more responsible with their seed. I love all my family members. Um, I get along with them very well. You could not pay me to leave my daughter with one of my male family members, even my most trusted male family members. I'm not doing that, because if something were to happen, me knowing that that was even a possibility, and that it is harder for men to control their sexual urges, just me already knowing that, if something were to happen, do y'all know how guilty I would feel? And I think the problem is, a lot of women either don't care. I've seen women who, y'all, this is so crazy. I can't tell y'all how many women who I have met who have been raped or touched by a male family member, even their fathers, and those women forgive those male family members and still bring their children around them. No lie. I know a couple of them to this day that do stuff like that. And they be like, oh, well, that happened a long time ago. I'm healing. I'm forgiving them. Okay, I understand forgiveness. I understand not holding hate in your heart. I understand moving on with your life. But to have them around your children, even if it is very sad, Binky, even if you're not leaving them alone with your children. I don't want my child in the presence of a person who I know for sure is sexualizing them. And I think what people don't understand is there's no rehabilitation. That is no different than having a sexual preference. That's just like trying to tell somebody that's a part of the LGBTQ community that they should just choose not to be a part of it. No, that's in them. That is something that no matter what you do, you cannot take it up out of them. I used to work in a mental health care facility here in Texas, which a lot of my experiences with how a lot of young boys think came from there. But we had uh, a sex offender unit with boys. They came from the age of 10 to 21. They had to be court ordered there. A lot of those boys were in there for doing stuff with their younger siblings or committing some type of assault. Um, and I, when you spend time around those boys, first of all, the stuff they used to do on that unit with each other alone was just wild. And when you spend time with those boys and the type of manipulation that they do, like they'll do stuff like do stuff like trying to offer you candy and things like that to lower your defenses. And you go back and you read their files about the stuff that they did, it would literally blow your mind. And that was supposed to be a unit for rehabilitation, but honestly, when somebody is sick in the mind like that, there's no rehabilitation for that. Okay. You might, the best that you can do in a situation like that, some people say put them down. I don't know. But the best you can do is to completely separate those people from society. Because if you put them in society, that's too much temptation for them. That's like expecting somebody who been a crackhead all their life to change. Does it happen? Yeah, but most of the time people who are strung out on drugs stay strung out on drugs for the rest of their lives. And even then I feel like it's still different. I feel like it's still a tougher battle because you're dealing with deep psychological issues that begin occurring in these type of people from childhood. Do y'all know how many people never heal from childhood trauma? And then you add that childhood trauma on top of sexual deviancy. No, baby, there's no rehabilitation for that kind of behavior. I don't care what anybody says. So, when you see, I remember one time I was walking, they put me on that unit because they didn't have enough people working and I hated working that unit. So they called me into the office. They say, Brown, come into the office. I went into the office and they was like, we got to show you something. They showed me a video. There was a boy who was there because he would always publicly expose himself, right? So eventually he got in trouble. He got court ordered to go to that rehabilitation center. So every time I would walk past their rooms, because we had to walk past their rooms at night to check and make sure that they weren't hurting themselves or anybody else, he would reach his hand out and try to grab my butt as I walked by, but I couldn't see because he'd always wait until I passed his door and reach out and try to do it. Mind you, he was a really big boy. Okay, he had to be at least 6 foot 3, almost 300 pounds. And at this time, I was maybe 140 pounds. And I didn't know he was doing this. But when I watched the camera back, it was so scary. I never worked on that unit again. So when you come from a background like I've come from, and you get to see the inner workings in the mind of people who have a space, because mind you, this was a space where they could be completely open about their desires and the things that they wanted to do, you understand that that is a sickness that's never rehabilitated. And a lot of the people who think like that will go through most of their lives trying to conceal it, grooming people, getting close to people, manipulating people. And here's the thing, a lot of the boys, y'all, they were charming. Like, you would think that this is a regular person. Like, some of them were weirdos, but a lot of them, when they weren't being perverted, were likable people, were funny. Um, just seem like a regular kid. And then they get to talking in a therapy session, or you get to read in their file, or you get to, hear about some of the stuff they're doing with each other on the unit. And you're like, this is absolutely beastly. And I also kind of want to touch on these female predators too, right? Now, I am of the strong belief that you have way less women. I think it's more than what we would think it is, but I still think it's way less than men. Okay? But I think because women can come off as non-threatening, a lot of the women who are predators are easily, like, it's easy to conceal that. And not just that, a lot of men don't tell because they don't necessarily see it as they're being preyed upon. As a matter of fact, y'all remember when Boosie got on the internet and he was telling people that in order for his friend, his kid son, not to be gay, that he put an older woman on him at a young age. And I don't understand why Boosie didn't immediately get arrested. I don't understand why CPS was not knocking at his door. I don't understand why he did not get dragged, because you came on this internet and admitted that you allowed your son to get violated by a grown woman. And then that grown woman needs to be in jail, because I don't care who it is, how much money they got, or how rich they are. They had no business messing with a teenage boy. So much sickness out here. Yeah, it's just as bad. It's just not as exposed. I don't think it's just as bad, Mr. D. This is what I will say though. This is what I will give you. You would be surprised at the amount of women who are willing to um deal with boys who are underage if they feel like they have some money, or if they feel like they're gonna be something. Um, you would be surprised. I was sexually violated twice, and both times were by women. Wow. Okay, Cha Cha. So if I'm asking too much, you don't have to answer this. But were these women that your family knew? Like, how old were you? Let's talk about this. Cause again, I'm here to expose all of it. So if women are really out here just as bad as men, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. My first fiance said he lost his virginity to a hooker that his uncle got him at 14. And Binky, what was the reason? What was the reason? And the fact that she was willing to do that, and she knew that little boy was 14, that was insane, but common practice. Is this common, y'all? Is this common for men to be like, okay, with their sons, it's time for you to lose it. Let me get you a sex worker. And then my whole thing is, to me, that's predatory towards your own child, because grown people have no business in interfering in when and where children have their first experiences. Why are you even thinking about that? Only thing you should be thinking about in regards to that is trying to lead them the right way, and tell them, hey, the importance of actually getting to know people and building relationships, and not centering your relationships about that. You could even talk to them about safety and consequences. But as a grown person, you should never be steering a child towards engaging in those type of activities at all, let alone paying for it. My ex is Puerto Rican from the Bronx, and he's 6 years older than me. Wow. Y'all, I can't believe it. But yeah, I have heard some stories from older teenage boys who they would be like, "Oh yeah, you would be surprised," and I'm like, that's not really going on to the extent that y'all are saying it. But I am starting to see more and more in the news a lot of these teachers who are getting in trouble for messing with their students. Um. I was dating this guy and he told me he was dating a teacher. She was a middle school teacher, and uh, she admitted to him that a couple years back, she had relations with one of her eighth graders who was 14 years old. And she excused it because she said he was mature for his age. This is what she told the grown man that she was currently dating. So he said he like literally he asked her some more questions and he never talked to her again after that. As he shouldn't have, because what? One was a female cousin. Okay, were y'all around the same age? And the other was my mom's friend's daughter. The first time, okay, I'm reading again. First time was when I was 6, and the second time was when I was 7. My mom still has no idea. Why haven't you told her? Have you seen these young ladies? Well, I don't know how much older than you they were. Um, that's very common too, Cha Cha. Did y'all remember when Kiki Palmer came out and said that one of her female family members who was around the same age touched her? I remember when Mary Kay Letourneau was a crazy story. Now it happens a lot. Binky, what is Mary Kay Letourneau? Who's that? I don't know that. Teachers from my time was 60 and older. Teachers nowadays start teaching in their early 20s. Teachers in today's age is so different. Um, yes, and that's another problem. So like for me, I'm a teacher, y'all, and I'm pretty like young compared to most teachers. I'm 30 years old, right? And I could never, and you would be surprised as you get older, like when you start hitting your 30s, and I'm not even talking about students, I'm talking about when you're at the grocery store. A lot of these little boys that be 18, 19, 20, they start getting bold. They will come up to you and you can tell they young, they look young, and they start getting bold. But I don't care that it's legal. You could not pay me any amount of money to date a boy that's 18, 19, 20, or even 21 at 30 years old. But I'm starting to see a lot of these teachers who were like 24, 25, 26, who are messing with these seniors. And I'm not talking about at my school, y'all. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about my place of employment. I'm talking about things that I have seen on the news at other schools. I have to say that just in case somebody comes and listens to this, I am in no means talking about my school or anything that has happened at my school district. We have not been on the news for anything. As far as I'm concerned, everything is kosher. You know where I'm at. But anyway, I'm seeing a lot of these women who are in their early 20s who are teachers or earlier mid 20s, and they start messing around with the star athlete or the young boys who kind of are taller. And I'm gonna say this as somebody who is around these boys all the time, I still don't understand. Because if you spend any significant amount of time around these young men, things that come out of their mouth and the things that they say and do is completely and utterly disgusting and immature. So I don't even understand why a girl who is a woman who was 24 or 25 would be interested in a 16-year-old. Because the more time you spend around them, the more disgusting they become to you. So I feel like being a teacher would make you even more turned off by a male teenager than any other profession because you spend so much time around them. I don't know if it's that these women don't have lives, because that's another thing. When you're a teacher, you have to intentionally make time to date, because the teaching profession takes up so much of your life, to the point where a lot of teachers, all they do is go to work and come home, and they really don't have time to go out and date and meet people their age. But again, you have to prioritize that. You have to tell your job no. I tell my job no, I can't do it. I just don't have the time for it. A lot of the times you have to intentionally put yourself in the space of grown people. But even then, I could never see myself being that lonely or not having that much time to even, I will go without before I even look at a teenager and be like, that is enough. No. They were both around 12 or 13 at the time. Oh, yeah, that's super predator. Okay. These girls were double your age. Yeah. And they probably went on to prey on. Mary Kay was a married teacher that cheated on her husband with a middle school student, got pregnant, went to jail, got out, pregnant, went to jail, and got caught in the car with him and was pregnant again. Oh, yes, I saw that story. Matter of fact, they're still together, aren't they? And they have kids. I think they have like 2 or 3 kids. Yeah, she's nasty. And you can tell that now that the boy is older, he's sick of her. You can tell he's starting to see, because they did an interview, like, I want to say last year. You can tell that he's starting to see that she's a predator and a weirdo, but I think the issue is he's so attached to her emotionally, and he's given her his entire youth, that I don't think he knows how to really break away from her. I think he feels stuck mentally. But that was just nasty, trifling, and disgusting. So I don't be understanding. I feel like, again, if you're a 24, 25-year old woman, you just listen to these young boys talk long enough, you be ready to get from around them. I'm gonna tell y'all, as soon as they try to say something slick at the mouth towards me, I put them on blast and quickly let it be known, don't nobody want you. Okay. And they will try you. They will try you. And you know what it was so sad? I think a lot of young boys feel bold enough to try grown women, because there are other grown women who flirt with them. Have y'all ever seen women who, like, they might have a friend who has a young son who's handsome, and the woman might say some slick stuff like, "Oh, you better be glad I'm not your age," or "You better be glad you're not 18. I'll snatch you up for myself." Like, I've heard women say stuff like that to their friends' kids, or to young men just out and about if they see a handsome young boy. And I'm like, bruh, that's not cool. That's not appropriate at all. And the mamas don't never check them. Okay, could no grown woman talk to my son like that? I'd have to check her, baby. It'd be me and you. But yeah, guys, my point is, though, that's all weird behavior. I'm even gonna bring up Michael Jackson, and I don't care who get mad about it. Now, I feel bad for Michael Jackson that Joe was beating him like a Hebrew slave. Okay, we know that he was beaten. They tell every day. Okay, they didn't get that good and that great for nothing, right? Um, so I empathize and I sympathize with the fact that Michael did not have much of a childhood. Again, you have another family who was willing to sacrifice their children for the money and the fame and the shot at the American dream, and to get out of poverty and to get to a better place in life on the back of their children. With that said, what Michael Jackson went through as a child was no excuse for, as a grown man, him to create a whole theme park uh style house, okay, and to be alone with children. all the time. And I can't stand how so many people use the fact that he was abused as a child as the reason why that type of behavior is not weird. When it would have been weird if it was anybody else. But because Michael Jackson can sing and dance, and because he had his childhood taken away from him, he is the only human being in the world where that behavior was not seen as weirdo, sicko behavior. When if it was your cousin Ronnie doing the same thing, you would be side-eyeing him. You would think something was going on. So, um, I've watched several of those interviews. I've looked at all of the court cases, and people want to say because of these kids either, retracted their statements, or you had some kids who got on the stand and testified and said he didn't do anything to them, that man was not messing with those children. But I'm sorry, your common sense should tell you that something was off. Something was going down. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to about the Michael Jackson situation, and they are defending him tooth and nail. But then when I ask, okay, well, would you have let your child stay at Neverland with Michael Jackson alone since you're so confident he didn't do it? The hell no. That's what they answer me with. Hell no. Okay, so then what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Cha-cha. I haven't told my mom simply out of fear of knowing how she'll react. Also, I don't want her to feel like she failed. I'm sorry, I'm like driving and reading. I know I'm not supposed to be doing that, but I am, y'all. I'm on a time constraint. Failed both of me and her, my grandmother experienced similar situations as children. Wow, yes, it's like a cycle. Mr. D, you're a mature Mariah. Many of these young teachers still growing up. No, Mr. D, we not finna give them no excuses because at 25, honestly, I feel like it's weird when just women in general prefer younger men. And some of the women who I've talked to who have a preference for younger men, when I ask them, why do you prefer younger men? They don't sound any different than a lot of these manosphere men who are claiming that women between the ages of 18 and 25 are in their prime. They say, okay, well, he has less baggage and you can train them and you can control them to do what you want to do. So I'm always side-eye women who, prefer younger men. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if you ever date somebody younger in your life, if it's an appropriate age gap and difference and if it's legal. You feel me? And I've made a video about that, but no, some of these women, they just nasty and desperate. And y'all, if y'all look at a lot of the women who are doing this, they don't be ugly. That be the I have seen some really cute women who I can tell that men are checking for them. And it's like, okay, if you're gonna turn your nose up at all the grown men who are probably checking for you in real life, who, for whatever reason you feel like they're gonna play games or break your heart, if you're gonna turn your nose up at them and then go date children who, I mean, what can these children do for you? What does a teenage boy want from you other than what's in between your legs? Because they surely can't build a life with you. So, I mean, to me, that's not even a better option. It's like you turning your nose up at men your age who, at the very least, they can take you to the bar to get a drink. Okay, you got to supply this young underage man with liquor. I think some of these older women just want to have someone younger and more naive to control and influence. I think so, Cha Cha. And I think what it is a lot of younger boys, they go out of their way to try to butter you up and say like sweet things to you. It's even more so than like what grown men do. Like they try to run game, but it's just game. Like it's just words. I don't understand why, as a grown woman, that shouldn't even do anything for you anymore. She died, but yeah, they were together for a long time. Wow, that's crazy. Cha Cha, the fact that your mom and grandmother went through similar situations, I believe they will be understanding. Yeah, I think so too, Mr. D. I think Cha Cha, that's something you should confide in her. However, I will say, as a parent, I think she might feel some guilt, but I don't think that was her. I don't think that was her fault. And a lot of the times, and I'm coming to the realization as we're doing this live, a lot of women underestimate the uh the predatory nature of other women, especially when you're not that way and you don't think like that. Yes, girl, women were going crazy over Sheree from RHO. Oh, Real Housewives of Atlanta, son. Very openly. Yeah, no, I would have had to check that. They want them younger for the imbalanced power dynamics a lot of the times, but won't say it. Yeah, parents always seem to feel guilt. Yes, that's why a lot of parents will completely try to deny it even happened to their kid. It wasn't uncommon in my generation. That's why a lot of kids don't talk to their parents these days. It was not common in my generation for when kids told their parents that they had been assaulted in that way or violated, that the parents just flat out denied it or even took the abuser's side. And I think that that is a trauma response. I think that that is parents not wanting to accept that this happened and it happened on their watch. I mean, imagine you're a parent, right? And you just wanted to go out, take a break from your kids, and you just wanted to go out on a Saturday night to hang out with your friends, and you leave your kid with some trusted family members, okay? Especially when it's like a woman, you really don't expect that. You leave your kid with your sister or your aunt or your grandmother or your cousin or your friend who has an older daughter or maybe some older kids, and you were trying to leave them in safe hands, but something like that still happens. And the scary part about it is that you can't really tell. You think you can. I feel like there are certain people who you meet who just have that spirit on them. I don't know how to explain it. I'm very good at and even then I know I'm not 1000%. Like with men, I'm very good at being able to discern whether or not a man would mess with a child. And you'd be surprised the amount that would. However, with women, I have blinders on. I don't know how to tell. I really don't. She would literally have to say something really weird to even pique my suspicion, but I'm completely blind in that area. I was AR'd at around 4 years old by a family friend. Hide and go get, which I knew nothing about. Ended up in the hospital. Long story, but my mom felt horrible for years. Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that, Binky. And you too, Cha Cha. Like, it's sad, y'all, because I tell people this all the time. You could go into a room full of women and ask who's all experienced something like that, and over half of the room would raise their hand. Then with boys, that's even more difficult to determine because a lot of them never speak up about it. They're more likely to speak up about it, if it happened to them maybe as a teenager and it was by a woman. But if it happened to them, by a man, they're not. Most of them never tell that. They take that to the grave. There's this guy here who I really respect him. His name is Ken Brisbane. He goes by Ken Billions. And it used to be, his name used to be Ken Billions on YouTube, but he changed his YouTube channel to Heaven on Earth. Well, he talked about how he was promiscuous, used to run a lot of game. Y'all probably seen clips of him because he's constantly ragging on the manosphere. And he's kind of cross-eyed, and sometimes in his videos he wears glasses. But he talked about how he was promiscuous, he used to break women's hearts. And then he came out and admitted that he was touched by one of his mom's boyfriends for a while. And it took a lot of courage for him to do that, but you would never look at him and feel like something like that had happened to him, because he has no like feminine traits or anything like that. The only thing that was wrong with him was that he was just a super promiscuous dude, always running through women. So a lot of people have experienced that, and that's why, I love that y'all are speaking up, and I hate that so many people live in shame about the situation. And a part of the reason why people live in shame about their situations is because you have predatory people who will, once you've admitted something like that has happened to you, they will see it as a weakness and they will try to play upon that, because when something like that happens, you're forever changed, right? And, if you go through something like that and you're able to get on the other side of it, you can definitely turn those lemons into lemonade and become a more empathetic and compassionate person towards other people, right? And be able to help other people that this has happened to. Just because you've been a victim of something like that does not mean that you're going to be out here just forever damaged, or tainted goods, as some people like to say, or as some victims of those type of behaviors have felt. It just means you have some things that you have to work through, right? But if you have people who are predatory, they will try to poke at your insecurities surrounding that, right? And some people will even throw it back up in your face that happened to you, right? They'll save it for a time when y'all are arguing or going through it, and say, oh, that's why such and such happened to you when you were a kid. So I understand why people are very secretive about that. But I feel like the more that we speak up about this, the more empowered we can become. One thing I will say is that I love that the industry is being exposed in the way that it's being exposed, because there are plenty of parents who are not necessarily ones to, pimp their children out. They're just naive to the game. And now that they understand that this is something that is common practice, and if you want to get through the gatekeepers of the music industry, you're gonna have to offer your child up in that way. They're gonna violate your kid. Well, now you have parents who would have otherwise been naive and made the wrong decisions, who are empowered to make better decisions, right? And this isn't just about celebrities, though, because it's regular people out here who are experiencing this. So the same things that apply to the music industry on a macro level happen in our communities at a micro level. You could be living next door to somebody who is experiencing this, right? Um, I have, two women that I know of in my chat right now, and both of them have admitted that's 100%. I know it's not a lot of people, but that is 100% of my chat who has said they've experienced this. Imagine if we had 100 people in the chat, 200 people in the chat, 300 people in the chat. How many people would be saying that this is something that they went through? Yes, Binky, definitely sending you hugs. And guess what? Binky is an awesome person. This is another thing I want to say. And I want to be very respectful of people who have went through this, y'all. Um, it's a lot of amazing people who have been through this in their life. And that's why I'm saying it's nothing to be ashamed of. You are a victor. You have overcome in spite of. That's really something that you should lose your mind over. That's really something that it should happen to you and you not be able to uh function. But by the grace of uh God, or whatever higher power you believe in, as well as your own perseverance, persistence, other life experiences that help grow you, you're able to speak on it, right? And not only speak on it, be somebody who is thriving in life and has something to contribute because of that, could save somebody else because of that. So I just want everybody to be mindful. Above all else, we got to protect our kids. Point blank, period. You got to understand the nature of people. Don't be lazy. Understand people on a psychological level. And as we have learned in this chat, if you just do a little bit of research, it's far more easier to understand the male psychology around this. But you're going to have to do even more due diligence when trying to figure women out, because it's much harder, much more covert, and it's something that really doesn't make sense, to be honest. That's the scary part. Um, but definitely be careful who you leave your children around. Um, if you have a child that's talented while they're young, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be talented when they're grown, more mature, and ready. Don't be trying to push your kids out into the forefront and they're not even ready for the responsibility and the discernment that is going to come with having fame and dealing with different type of people and personality types and dealing with people who want power. It's never that serious. It's better for your child to experience childhood, work on their craft, and to go in those industries when they're more prepared, when they're not in a position of weakness, and when they can actually come to the table and negotiate fair deals from a place of understanding. It makes absolutely no sense how I see all the time these mothers who are constantly, especially with young boys, I see this a lot, pushing their kids into sports, but their child can't even read at a sixth grade level. Ma'am, how is he going to be able to read and negotiate his contracts? Okay, so with kids, living childhood and education, that needs to come first before any of this fame stuff, whether it be they gonna be a singer, actor, dancer, or a ball player. Your kids are not your meal ticket. You want to make some more money, figure it out. How about you work on your craft or whatever you're good at, and you work really hard at that and push your own self to the forefront. But these parents living through their kids, them days are over, and we need to be calling it out left and right. And that's all I really have to say about the topic, y'all. I'm almost at home again. I apologize. I know y'all probably like, dang, she out here uh talking and driving, but I have my phone hooked up to my air conditioner thing, so I promise y'all I'm out here safe. But anyways, y'all, y'all have a good night. I'm gonna try to get on here on Wednesday. I'll let y'all know for sure tomorrow. Please leave in the comment sections, or y'all can send me a DM on Instagram what y'all would like for me to talk about next. I always want to be viewer centered and talk about things that y'all want to come on here and hear. But if not, I'll just go ahead and pick the topic. It's been real. I'm so glad that y'all pulled up, Mr. D, Binky, Cha Cha, and everybody who just came in and out the chat. I seen in and out of the video. I saw y'all on my views. Who may not feel comfortable saying anything. I definitely appreciate you still watching and supporting in some form. Please, y'all, make sure that y'all like my videos and please share them. If you like my message, share them so that my subscriber base can grow and that I'm able to do more for y'all and bring more to this platform, because I have a lot of big ideas and goals for this. So make sure that you're pushing the message out if you like it. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night.